Hello and happy 4th. I am Dan Alasso. It's the 4th of July, 2025, Independence Day in the US, a day of picnics and fireworks, celebrations of America, and generalized patriotism. And I think it's a good opportunity to try to get beyond partisan bullshit and to recognize the things that we have in common as Americans. It's unfortunate, I think, when people circle the wagons of their particular tribes and try to dunk on their political opponents. And it's annoying, both in the day-to-day MAGA versus resistance sense, but also in the ways that history has been selectively interpreted and presented to support a particular point of view. Some historians I know are angry or afraid that the current administration is either promoting or is failing to block movements to change the focus of what students learn about U.S. history in American public schools. This isn't really a recent development. It's more of a new battle in an ongoing war over our past and over what it means to be an American. A lot of the time, the historical point that's being made is supposed to lead us to a conclusion that we're straying from ideals that are central to our American identities. For example, in the Independence Day post that Heather Cox Richardson published yesterday on Substack, she celebrated both the Declaration of Independence and Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. The point that she assumes in this commentary is that, in her words, America was founded on the radical idea that all men are created equal. She goes on to suggest that just as in the Civil War era, quote, we are now, once again, facing a rebellion against our founding principle as a few people seek to reshape America into a nation in which certain people are better than others. Now, of course, this sentiment won't come as a surprise to Heather's readers, of course. I'd even venture to guess that many of her subscribers probably go to her for that and turn to Heather for her nearly daily column as a validation of and as a support of kind of the resistance position. I don't completely disagree with her perspective, and I don't completely disagree with the resistance. I do, however, object to the implication that things would be a lot different and better if only the evil orange man hadn't been elected. As an actually bad man once said, which only goes to show that even monsters can occasionally stumble upon the truth, it often seems, quote, there's not a dime's worth of difference between them. And I'd also like to object to the incompleteness of the argument that America was founded on and founded for freedom and equality, and that the current administration is as big a threat to America as the Confederacy was. And that this is the first time that we've had to worry about people seeking to shift American society to one in which, quote, certain people are better than others. Anybody who has spent time seriously considering the founding era, and especially reading primary sources, will be aware that there was a range of opinion regarding what freedom was and who ought to be free, much less equal. It might even be argued that for some of the revolutionaries, the point was more about getting out from under the crown and parliament, and that the flowery language may just have been rhetoric to some of them. But even if we grant that everybody was truly committed to beginning a new republic, there was certainly differences about what people thought that society ought to look like. Thomas Paine's vision was on the more democratical side, at least according to John Adams, whom it alarmed and annoyed. And of course, opponents of Adams claimed that he was trying to institute a monarchy. He wasn't, probably, but there were some serious disagreements about things like participation in government. And this gets forgotten a lot of times because we tend to focus on America's original sin of slavery when we criticize the founders. But there were other issues in that founding era and also later. And many of them were centered on social class and on power. Historians and civics teachers haven't really done an adequate job of covering these, in my opinion. So I'm going to focus on them in my teaching and my writing, and you'll be seeing more of that here. But although I object to people whitewashing the founding, as I've just done, and especially to doing it for a contemporary political purpose, as I think Heather has just done, I also get really annoyed when people claim that there's nothing to celebrate at all on July 4th. Yes, of course, there have been important, serious critiques, like Frederick Douglass's What to a Slave is the 4th of July, and John Quinney's 4th of July address at Reidsville. And I do think that Howard Zinn did America a service by uncovering some of our warts in a people's history. But having said that, I am not down with the socialists at Verso Books announcing their sale with America the Great Satan. July 4th marks the 249th anniversary of the Declaration of America's Independence. This is no reason to celebrate. I think this type of signaling is just going to exacerbate divisiveness and rancor. So I won't be buying any of their 40% off Great Satan reading list sale books. But I will be going to Itasca State Park, where the Mississippi River begins, and partying with some of my friends, some of my liberal and some of my conservative friends. So I hope you have a great 4th of July. I hope you found this a little bit interesting. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I will see you again very soon.